everyone, to Friends and Neighbors. I'm your host for the day, Sandra Onal, joined with Sherry Tatum.
I'm enjoying this book right now.
She's over there really studying in this cookbook. Y'all are in for a treat. We have a wonderful woman that has done so many amazing things. I love it when God's hand is on someone and they are obedient to the calling, because then you have this plethora of blessings that he gives. And let me just stop talking because I could continue going on, but I want to welcome Linda Gunter. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to be here today with a bunch of girls.
And my bracelet. I love my bracelet.
Well, and we're going to talk about that. I mean, just, I've got something here as well. But, Linda, so let's talk about how all of this got started. Love Him, Love Them. Right. 1998. Wow. You go just a minute ago, you go to Atlanta. Right. Which is like an area there. It's like the fifth
worst crime-ridden neighborhood in America. It's Vine City. Yeah, so we were, my husband and I were real estate investors. So, Chip and Joanna Gaines?
Yes.
We were Chip and Joanna Gaines before Chip and Joanna Gaines knew they were Chip and Joanna Gaines. We didn't know it could be a television show. So, we were house flippers. So we flipped in Athens, we flipped in Atlanta, we flipped in Grant Park, and we had this house in Vine City at 683 Jones Street. You can go by there today. And literally there, we were just working on the house, flipping, my husband did the maintenance part, and I did the buying and selling. And a lady came up with a grocery cart full of all of her belongings. And she said, I need to stay in your house. And I said, well, girlfriend, this house ain't ready yet. So you need to go find another house. And she said, no, I don't think you understand. I need to stay in your house. And I said, I don't think you understand. It's not ready. Right. So she and I go back and forth. And she says, I said, it sounds to me like you need a homeless shelter. And she goes, well, all the homeless shelters are full. Now, this is in August. Wow. And I said, I don't know why, but in my mind, people only stay in homeless shelters when it's cold. Yeah. So I was like, you're lying. I said, it's August. Go find a homeless shelter. This is my godly, full of Holy Spirit self. And she said, they're all full. Well, this was back in the day with a BlackBerry. So I took out my little BlackBerry, rolled my ball around, called this homeless dispatch thing, which actually there is. And I said, I've got a lady here. She needs a place to stay. And the lady on the other end of the line, she said, I'm sorry. She said, all the homeless shelters are full. I said, you got to be kidding me. And she said, no, I'm not kidding you. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do with her? She's standing here in front of me with a grocery cart. She goes, I don't know. Maybe you need to open a homeless shelter. And I took my phone and I slammed it down. And about that time, my husband comes walking out of the house we're working on with a bunch of 2x4s. And he's like, what are you doing? And I said, this lady wants to stay in our house. And he answers and says, well, that sounds like a great idea to me. That way we don't have to.
You're like, wait a second.
Are you kidding me? So fast forward, and this whole story is in our first book. It's Peanut Butter Crackers and Flip-Flops tells the story. But sure enough, we took that property, turned it into the Taj Mahal of homeless shelters. My mother-in-law came down and made curtains. Our Sunday school class came in and furnished it. I mean, we had like a blue room, a green room, a red room. It was just like the White House. And because we took no federal funding, we could do whatever we wanted. And so we were able to take in people that couldn't go to another shelter. If you had children of both genders, then, probably now it's not a problem, but anyways, then they could not stay in the same bedroom. And so if you were a single mom with a boy and a girl, you couldn't go to a homeless shelter. Or if you were about to give birth, you couldn't stay. So, I mean, I was birthing babies left and right here and there. And this is hilarious. About 6 months later, I ended up at this lunch banquet thingamabob for people who had homeless shelters, right? And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, the lady beside me, I hear her talking, and I'm like, man, that voice sounds familiar. And I looked over and I said, who are you and what do you do? And she was like, I'm the dispatcher. I'm the one whenever you call in, I tell you where. And I said, you are out of your mind. I said, do you know about 6 months ago, I called and I reminded her of the call. And she goes, oh, yes, I remember very clearly. She said, I've been doing this for 25 years. Yes. And I've told that to 3 people. Wow. And all 3 people have opened shelters.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a God thing.
I love that you shared that story, because that really was your first step into loving, it's love him, love them.
But at that time, we named it George's Place because that was my daddy's name.
That's right, that's
and
right.
My dad had recently passed away and wasn't able to be a part of it. And I am who I am, not only because of my heavenly father, but because of my earthly father.
Amen.
And so that was an impact that we were able to use through that was George's Place.
Yes.
The funny part, I'll tell you now so I don't forget later, is once we moved forward about 10 years, we wanted to keep that name after we'd moved out, but we found out it was a strip club.
Well, maybe we need to
I'm glad you
rethink that.
Exactly. They're like, if people Google that and see that, that's going to be a problem. So, yeah. So one of my very best friends, that homeless shelter, what we didn't know then, but what we know now is it was sort of the prerequisite, and God was putting us in this position to figure things out for what we would be doing in the future. We literally ran women through that shelter. Gave them Jesus, gave them jobs, right? So because we were real estate investors in Atlanta, we literally had homes that we could place women in. So we were bringing women in who were homeless, jobless, in a hot mess. We were giving them Jesus. One of my very best friends was a mortgage broker, and she was teaching them how to handle their money. We were then we were owner financing homes to homeless women. Moving them out, getting them whatever credibility they needed, and literally then providing homes for them. And so my friend was Myrna, who was the mortgage broker, and she and I, that is another story in and of itself. I'm going to just share a little bit of that with how we met. Myrna also flipped houses. And so my husband and I on a Sunday afternoon, which we never went to look at homes on a Sunday afternoon, ended up at Grant Park. And we were stopped at the house that was for sale. She and her husband were walking out of the house. We literally pulled up, and I yelled out of the car, "Hey, are you guys gonna buy it? Because if you're gonna buy it, I don't want to waste my time getting out of the car, right?"
Yeah.
She looks at me like, "What is this white lady doing?" Yelling at me from her car. And I looked back, and we, from there, became very best friends. And that's how she joined me in the homeless shelter venture. She, at that time, she was Haitian. I didn't realize she was Haitian. I just thought she was black. And for someone like me, I didn't grasp all of the cultural issues of that. Her husband was Haitian. She, at that time, had 2 children. And then moved forward to actually going to get 2 of her husband's children from Haiti and brought them back to the United States. She ended up with 5 children. And so we literally became very good friends. She started helping me with our shelter. She actually opened her own shelter. And fast forward. Now I want you to grasp this for just one moment. Had my husband and I stopped to get a Diet Coke or to go to the bathroom, we would have never met that woman. She was walking out of the house. I literally yelled at her in passing, right? And then in 2004, her husband took an AK-47, killed her, turned around and picked up a knife and killed her mother. And those 5 children, in 5 minutes, lost their mom, their dad, and their grandmother.
Wow. Oh, my God.
They fell through the defects cracks. That all happened here in Georgia. And in less than 24 hours, ended up in New York to live with my friend's dad. Now, keep up with me. He had just lost his wife and his daughter in this double murder at the hand of his son-in-law, right? 78 years old, ends up with 5 kids.
Wow.
So we stayed in touch with those children, literally in touch so much that I was getting phone calls saying, "This child hit me, this child did this," just asking me to reprimand the kids over the phone. I'm in Georgia, they're in New York. Yeah, doing parenting. Yeah. And the irony of that is that my husband and I, on our very first date, made a deal that we would never have kids.
Oh,
right?
wow.
We were going to do what we wanted to do, when we wanted to do it, how we wanted to do it. And literally, a little girl came running through this amazing restaurant we were in with white tablecloths and candles. And with a naked Barbie doll screaming, and I literally put my hand across the table and said, "Look, I don't know about you, but I don't want any of those." And he was like, "Yeah, me either." So here we are parenting these 5 children over the phone. And long story short, her dad called me one day, who I'd only met once at the double funeral, and said, "Linda, you are my last phone call. I've reached out to France, I've reached out to Haiti, I've reached out to everyone in America. I'm terminally ill. I cannot care for these children anymore, and I can't find anyone else that can. If you don't take them, I'm going to have to place them and split them up in foster care." Yeah. And so my response was, "Dude, you picked the wrong chick."
Yeah.
I don't know told you to call me? But I don't like kids. I don't have any kids. And what do you think I'm going to do with your 5 Haitian kids?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
And my husband overheard the call and said, he basically threw the Bible in my face. He said, Linda, James 1:27 is very clear that real religion that God himself considers pure and faultless is to care for orphans in a hot mess. Yeah. And I said, I don't care because I'm not Jesus. And I don't even have a car big enough for 5 kids. Right? Fast forward, and the rest of that story is in that book. On the 17th day of the 7th month of the year 2007, which I challenge you to look and see what happened in the Bible, the amazing things that happened in the Bible on the 17th day of the 7th month. The family living in my home in little old Gumlog, Georgia, went to the size of 7 with children the ages of 7 to 17.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this about you. You are truly an example of Jeremiah 29:11.
Right.
For I know the plan
He had them,
I have for
not
you.
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are living testament to that.
Right.
I've never seen anyone fulfill it that much as you have. To go from not wanting this, not wanting to do that, not doing this, meeting people at the exact time, having this husband that is absolutely awesome. And then all of this comes from you not wanting to, but God says, yep, this is the plan. You're going to live it, and you're going to enjoy it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it gets better. It gets better. I have these kids, and literally ran our home like a business. We had family meetings that were run by Robert's Rules of Order, okay? I have minute books with, you should just read them. They're priceless, right? So all my kids know how to run a board meeting now. They know how to make a motion. They know how to vote. And so at our November 2011 family meeting, I made the motion. And I said, because I had gone through several Christmases at that point, and I hated Christmas because we would spend hours. Everybody knew their story. They knew the victim mentality. Everybody wanted to give them gifts. So we would go to this place and spend 3 hours opening presents. This place, I hated it. I was like, I just don't think this is what we had in mind. And on top of that, I wanted my kids to be a little bit more grateful to me. I was like, I have saved their happy butts from this country, and they need to know it. So I made the motion at our November meeting. I said, I make the motion that this Christmas, nobody gets nothing. And instead, we're going to take the money we would normally spend on gifts, and we're going to Haiti. And I could not get a second to that motion.
Really?
They were like, are you kidding me? You know how many presents we get and gifts we get? I'm not playing that game, right? Finally, my youngest daughter, Jasmine, she was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll second it. We ended up going to Haiti Christmas 2011. And that was the year after the devastating earthquake in Haiti, right? Now I've never been on a mission trip. I'm a Hyatt kind of girl, right? I don't understand people that work hard all year long to go camping for 1 week to live like a homeless person, right? What is that about?
With you.
What is that about? So anyways, we get on the plane, my very white husband, my 5 Haitian children, myself, and we go to Haiti. And God messed me up.
My goodness.
He messed me up. We took gifts for 17 girls, right? And I'll tell you, it was I had everything organized. I had everything. That's the name of our first book is Peanut Butter Crackers and Flip Flops. I had our snacks organized. I knew exactly what we needed to do. And God showed me miracle after miracle after miracle. It was my first experience with miracles.
Oh, Linda, we're going to go in a short commercial break.
Okay.
But I love your soundbite.
I'm enthralled.
Messed me up. So, I mean, when God gets involved, He shakes us up in a good way to say, I am God. Be still and watch what I can do. So I can't wait to hear about these miracles, and I know you can't either. So take a little breather, go to the restroom, get some tea, some coffee, come back because we're going to continue our conversation with Linda Gunter. See you soon. That is amazing. Welcome back to Friends and Neighbors, and we're having a delightful conversation with Linda
Lovely.
Gunter.
I love
You
it.
were talking about just really walking in obedience with what God has called you to do.
Yeah. Sounds like that now. It didn't sound like that then. But
I know. Sometimes, though, there is that time of wrestling, when you wrestle with the Lord. I have done a lot of my share of wrestling, but ultimately I will obey because I'll be like, yes, God, thank you for letting me go through those emotions, but let me now walk in your plan for me. So you're talking about you're going to Haiti, first time, you've never been,
right?
And you're seeing miracles after miracles.
Right.
Talk to us quickly about that.
The place that we went was a place that we weren't supposed to be going, but we were on the back of a cow truck. We get off the truck, there's a pile of trash outside. We walk past a pig and a goat and 4 little boys that are going through this pile of trash, all with the same goal. They're looking for food. That messed me up. We go up 4 flights of stairs to this place where the gentleman who was taking us around said, look, I have a friend. We used to play music together. After the earthquake, all of these kids who lost their primary caregivers ended up here because they felt safe because it was a guy that taught music lessons. We go up to the top of the stairs. This is Christmas Day, 2011. No running water, no electricity, no ham on the table, no Christmas tree, 30 kids running around, one of them you just met today. And
beautiful.
We walk in, we have this suitcase, we have shoes in it that we didn't put in it, 1 pair of shoes for each child. And while we were there, we handed out things. We did what everybody apparently does on mission trips. We were ready to walk out the door, and I frankly was really ready to go because I didn't like the way it smelled. And it smelled and was what you would expect for 30 children running around with no running water. Was ready to walk out the door, and the man that was in charge of the place looked at me, basically stuck his finger in my face and said, Mommy Linda, before you go, I want for my kids to sing for you. Now, I'm a pretty bold chick. I say what I think most of the time. But even I couldn't figure out how to say, I don't want your little orphan kids singing for me on Christmas Day. This place stinks, right?
Yeah.
So instead, I walk over to the living room. They sit me down on this urine-stained daybed. They hand me Majine, who, if you look on the back of the book, is this youngest child on the front.
Oh.
She was 4 months old at that time. They put her in my arms, and all these kids come running, including the girl you met today, and stand in front of me, and they start singing. They sing This Little Light of Mine, and they sang it for me in 5 different languages. And I lost my mind. I sat there and I looked at these kids and I thought, what is wrong with them? Do they not know what they do not have? What are they so happy about? And why are they smiling while they're singing? What's wrong with them? And I felt like Jesus Christ himself tapped me on the shoulder and said, Linda, that is the joy of the Lord.
Oh, my goodness.
And girlfriend, you ain't got it. Because your joy comes from when your husband does what you want him to do, when you ask him to do it. When these new kids keep their room clean to the level you're expecting for them to do. And I walked out of that orphanage that day, and I told the man that brought us there, I said, somebody needs to bring those kids to the United States. I said, you're probably not going to believe this. I don't know anybody in the United States that doesn't have running water and electricity. Matter of fact, most everybody I know has everything they need.
Oh, wow.
And most of them have everything they want.
Right.
But they're not happy. They don't have any joy. And he looked back at me with his thick Haitian accent. He said, oh, Mommy Linda, every American I bring here, they say the same thing. But nobody ever does anything about it.
Wow.
Came back to America, had our January family meeting. I asked my kids, I said, what was that trip to Haiti? Was that a one-time thing?
Yeah.
And my youngest daughter, Jasmine, said, are you kidding me? Those kids are counting on us. We never spent another traditional Christmas in America again. We went back every year. And 5 years later, I mentioned to those kids, I reached out to every organization that had any major footprint in Haiti. And I shared my vision, I shared my dream. And they said, you are an idiot. If you think the Haitian government and the United States government is going to work together to allow you to bring an entire orphanage from Haiti to the United States, I don't know whose money you're spending, which at that point it was my husband and mine, because we're both volunteers. And yet, in 2016, those 30 children got on a plane, which, by the way, when you live in a foreign country, you don't just hop on a plane. You got to have a visa. To get a visa, you got to have a passport. To have a passport, you have to have a birth certificate. To have a birth certificate, you got to know when your birthday is. We didn't even know when these kids' birthdays were. They were the only ones who were pulled out from underneath the rubble of the earthquake. The administration in Haiti had gone kerplunk. And so to think that is a miracle in and of itself that they came. They traveled from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, all the way up to the White House. We had $120 in our bank account when these kids arrived the first time. And yet my prayer was that everywhere we go, I wanted the same thing that happened to me on that urine-stained daybed to happen, and lives were continuously changed.
Wow.
So we did that for 3 years. They went back, they got out of that jacked up building they were in, had not only an amazing orphanage, but one with a computer lab installed. And we had running water, we had electricity. Second and third years we came back, we ended up actually opening a hospital in the middle of a global pandemic. Because when God wants to do something, He will.
Yes.
And currently, the little chick here from Georgia that didn't want to have any kids is now called Mommy Linda throughout the country of Haiti. And I am currently responsible for feeding over 5,000 children a day with our 6 locations.
Oh my goodness. Linda,
I want to give you a donation.
Story. I know.
I do. I want to give an offering, Linda.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
Right.
If I've got a check, I'm going to do that today. And I mean that from my heart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is powerful how God can multiply, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you have a willing heart. When your heart, when you sat here and you said, I did not have the joy.
Right.
I had everything, but to have that joy that surpasses all understanding, it's powerful. Now, you wrote a book, Choir of Angels, How 30 Orphans Changed Their World, right?
So you met my mom in the lobby. This is kind of funny. When she first saw that laying on the counter at the house, she goes, well, at least we know this isn't about our family. I was like, actually, Mom, it is, but okay.
That's hilarious.
That's lovely.
How 30 orphans changed their world. So 22 of those 30 children had the opportunity to come here to the United States after the tour. We did that tour for 3 years. Then we tried to bring one of our other orphanages, and our visas were denied. But 22 of those children had the opportunity to stay here in America. They're either living with a host family and attending school here legally on an F1 student visa, or they're in the process of being adopted. But every single place those children went, whether it was a host family, whether it was a church, whether we sang at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's one of the what's on the back of the book.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, they changed lives. And what I'm here to tell you is that book, what happened in that book is our journey as we were on that choir tour, which also changed my life. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but when Jesus walked this earth, everywhere He went, He cast out demons, He healed the sick, and He raised the dead. I have now done all 3 of those things, not because I wanted to, because it was a necessity when I ended up traveling with that tour.
Wow.
So I have now learned about miracles that are unbelievable, and that's what that book is about.
Oh, Linda, I am so excited to read it. And I want you to take some time to look Linda Gunter up. Grab this book. I encourage you to be a part of this
Make a donation.
Kingdom Impact organization. Love Him, love them. You can't love them if you don't know Him. And I want to say this last thing before we go on this commercial break. Beauty for Ashes.
Yes.
So you also have a Beauty for Ashes
Jewelry line, yeah. Not every girl has a jewelry line,
I am
right?
so excited that could be another way that you could.
Mother's Day's right around the corner.
Absolutely. It's a gift of itself. It's going to be beautiful. Okay, go take another break and we'll come back here with Linda Gunter.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Welcome back to Friends and Neighbors. What an encouraging conversation we've had with you, Linda. And Linda, we have one of your daughters with Mama Linda.
Mama Linda, Samaika.
Welcome
Is that
to
right?
the set. Did we say it right, Samaika? You
How
are
beautiful.
beautiful.
So were you on all 3 choir tours?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, so quickly tell us what you thought about the choir tour.
I think it was a wonderful place and wonderful things to do and to share the gospel with people that don't know about Jesus and the people that change their hearts and I enjoy it.
Awesome. To share the gospel.
I just love you. You're so precious.
Oh, Samika's a powerful prayer warrior. I'm going to tell you a quick story. We were at a church one time, and I said, look, the pastor says we got to get out of here, and we got to get out of here quick, so we can't linger today. I said, because they got a funeral afterwards.
Yes.
Samika says, that's not a problem for me. I can go raise the dead. Then we don't have to wait so long. This is at a Baptist church, right? So I go tell the pastor, and he goes, look, the lady's 92. Just let her go.
Yeah.
Just let her go.
She has done well. Oh, well, listen, it has been a delight to have you on the program. You have encouraged hearts, and I hope that you will go and look out for Love Him, Love Them organization and support them, pray for them. You know, God's hands and feet out there, and you can be a part of it by getting involved. Linda, how can they reach you quickly?
Yeah, so my phone number is 706-599-7525. That's the easiest way, or linda@lovehimlovethem.org. And then our website, of course, is lovehimlovethem.org, and we're all over social media as Love Him, Love Them.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Friends and Neighbors. Remember, gotta love Him before you love them.
Yeah.
See you next time.
God is good.